Bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong. This is Joe, the bearded historian. He'll tell you an interesting story. Be careful of his soldiers, they can be brats. This is Angel, she's an entity. She'll cause chaos and plant her hands at you. This is Sue, she likes spirits, not the alcohol. She's the reason this channel exists. This is David, he likes fire trucks. He's here occasionally. Bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong. We preserve his story.
Good morning. It's the first Wednesday of March. And today we're going to do a very interesting bit of history that you may have participated in. I participated in. Are you ready? Today's race is going to have trolls. It's not really related to the video in any way, but kind of is, since this is a computer-related video, sort of. Anyway, I can't think of anything else, so you're getting this. Are you ready? Here we go. Shout out time. Here's a shout out just for you. You support me, so I support you. This shout out is for our friends. Let's see who it is today. Forgot to set it until set. Start. There we go. Alright, so we got She Stole Bluegrass, Hiking Ontario. There's Debbie, there's Sea Tripping. There's Mike's Garden. There's Marlin. There's Josie. There's Griselda. There's Joseph. There's Marcus. There's Bobby. Let's see. There's Northern. There's Amanda. Dig Smile. There's, is that Frugal? Yep, that's Frugal. And then there's Moonsey. And Blended. Nacho Daily. There's Hillbillies. Let's see who we got. There's, let's see, Northern Woman. There's, there's Water. I don't know who Water is. There's Goldie. Sylvia. Oh, it's Rook. Hold on. All right, this is Rook of It All. A Rook of All, I should say. Almost at 4K. And here we've got some reviews, it looks like. Dollar General, I've never seen that one. And then we've got some more food. I haven't tried the zero one, but I do like the regular one. Saw that. Haven't seen that. Saw that, thought it was weird. Alright, and then we've got some lives. These are mostly where I send in. You connect, chat, whatever. So that's Mr. Rook. Check him out. Like, sure. Have a good day. Alright. The bearded historian is going to tell you a little bit about a wonderful adventure that didn't last very long. It didn't.
It did, sadly.
But
yeah.
We have lots of comments, lots of history. It'll be interesting. Or hopefully.
Hopefully.
Bring a snack.
Yeah,
Bring a treat.
We're ready to throw a crumbs to the neighbors and see what happens.
What? For throwing things?
Of course, we like to throw things, you know.
Uh-oh.
It's just half the joy of life we have.
Oh.
But as the bearded historian, you know, for those of us who are old, you can have a lot of different, you know, layers of where your music talents and taste went, you know, from the early days of listening to 45s, cassettes, 8-tracks, CDs. But then, about the time that CDs started, you know, having issues, I mean, they got scratched, they got chipped, they had a lifespan that didn't work very well. A age came out, what was known as the MP3s.
They were so wonderful.
Well, yeah, it was a beautiful time because, you know, when they originally made CDs, you might be lucky if you could fit 8 to 12 songs on one CD. They were not very practical. And then at the same time, you had CDs that you might only like 2 or 3 songs at the most on a
Always
given
annoyed
CD.
me.
Yeah, or just one.
There was always like one, maybe 2 if I was lucky.
Yeah, I could think off the top of my head maybe 7 or 8 albums that I could listen to front to back.
I'm not sure I can think of that many because I don't listen to full albums.
Yeah, but then the other problem that you would have is that, you know, for me the big outlet that I had was if I listened to the radio. You know, it was a constant source of music, a few boring ads once in a while.
I had I never liked the radio because it always played the same freaking stuff. Always.
Sometimes for me, they seem to break it up some. But I guess it depends on also your genre and what your appeal is. But the problem that I ran into, given point, Heart, the Bad Animals cassette, it was awesome front to back. The problem was that they only used, I think, 5 or 6 of the songs as singles, and they skipped several really good songs doing that.
Yeah, and I know some others that I found through the internet and otherwise other sources because the radio never played them. And again, another reason I do never liked the radio. They never, give you a variety. They never play all the music, which I understand they're not paid to play. They're only paid to play the singles, but still, it's a great.
Yeah. Now, as you're probably wondering, where the hell is he going with all this?
We're just rambling.
But when my wife gave me the shopping list of stuff to talk about for today, tomorrow, and the next day, one of the things that popped up on there was nicknamed the Death Spiral of Napster.
I love Napster.
Napster was a brilliant,
my favorite,
albeit sometimes questionable, file sharing service. And for the layman's of the bunch, basically what would happen is, say I had my computer hooked to Napster, and on my computer I had 64 songs. Well, while I'm attached to Napster, Mike over in Orlando, if he liked this song, he could pull off my computer, transfer over to his computer, boom, he'd have access to it.
I made like 2 or 3 CDs of songs that I just pulled off of Napster. I love that site.
Yeah. And the advantage there was that, to some people it was just like a radio station, and you had cassettes. At my mom and dad's house, I still have probably close to 30 cassettes full of burned songs off the radio. It was fun.
I just heard burger songs off the radio, but that's mostly because I didn't have the patience to try to
wait
get
for
that
it,
timing
try to
down.
hit it just right. Yeah.
No.
That was its own creative roll of the dice. But I mean, I have cassettes for Dr. Demento. I have stuff from Bon Jovi, and then what also was kind of crazy about the same time Napster was going really big, they used to have these, for the lack of a better word, local deals where if a person wanted something, you could offer it up. All you had to do was go over and pick it up. Some lady gave me like 60 burned cassettes for free. I kid you not. They're just an awesome collection. Have all sorts of things from Pink Floyd to Iron Maiden to, just great stuff. But anyway, the history behind Napster is that, again, it was based off of the idea of distributing files, from point A to point B, or in this case, point A to 3,000 Bs. And it wasn't the first, there was also IRC, Hotline, and Usenet. And Napster's specialization was into the MP3 files of music, and it was also very user-friendly.
Oh yes, very user-friendly.
At its peak, Napster's service had about 80 million registered users.
I believe that.
Yeah. Napster made relative ease of music enthusiasts to download copies of songs that were otherwise difficult to obtain.
Definitely.
Like older tunes. That was one problem that also struck me as funny. Way back, before I even met my wife,
Uh-oh.
I went on a road trip.
Oh, no.
Or I should say a flight. And it was so funny because I went from Rapid City, South Dakota, down to a place in Alabama. And, they were just getting into music down there. And it was still, 6 months ahead of what we had up here.
Which aggravates me.
Yeah, and you're like, go back to the radio, go back to the music stores up here. And I'm like, do you guys have, what is it? You have no idea, do you? No. Can you tell? Can you sing? If you could, give us a few bars. Maybe we can look it up for you. It was part of the irritation, and it was also the fact that the whole brainchild of both music sharing, the abilities of apps. This is what was one of the great things that came about thanks to things like Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, MySpace.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the birthplace of this wonderful internet that we have. Of course, there's downsides to everything, but
right.
Again, music enthusiasts had a fun time with it. Unreleased recordings, studio recordings, songs from concert bootleg recordings. Basically, Napster would pave the way to stream media services and then transform music into a public good for a brief time. Well,
yes.
Now, here's where it gets funny. High-speed networks in college dormitories suffered.
What? Of course they did.
They said as much as 61% of external network traffic would consist of MP3 file transfer. So, why is my program slowing down socially? Well, it might be that wire over there that's turning red.
Nah.
Might be a small clue. Many colleges would wind up blocking its use for this reason, even before concerns about liability for facilitating copyright violations on campus. And services and software programs began as Windows only. However, by 2000, Black Hole Media wrote a Macintosh client called Maxter. Now, Maxter was later bought by Napster and designated as the official Mac Napster client, Napster for the Mac, at which point the Maxter name was discontinued. Well, even before this acquisition, Macintosh community had a variety of independently developed Napster clients. The most notable was the open source client called Maxstar, released by Squirrel Software in early 2000, and Rapster, released by Overcaster family in Brazil. Now, the release of Maxter's source code paved the way for third-party Napster clients all across computing platforms, giving the users advertisement-free music distribution options. Well, where the first landmine hit, and it cost them quite a few fans when they decided to do this, Metallica put out a demo of the song I Disappear, and it had been circulating across the network before the song's official release. This led it to being played on several radio stations across the U.S., which alerted Metallica to the presence of the leaked song, along with the fact that their entire back catalog of studio material was also available on Napster. On April the 13th, 2000, they filed a lawsuit against Napster. A month later, rapper and producer Dr. Dre, who shared a litigator and legal firm with Metallica, also filed a lawsuit against Napster, refused his written request to remove his works from its service.
Not like they could, not with all those people sharing files.
How are you going to tell 20 million subscribers, all of your Metallicas can't be used now? That would be a little hard to both write code to, and if anybody's seen, files on the internet, it doesn't say this is Metallica's song 3. Every single one of them may have a different title. So I'm not sure how in the world you plug a code in and block every Metallica tune, every Dr. Dre tune. It would be, almost like physically impossible. Now, after Dr. Dre's, made his work, separately, Metallica and Dr. Dre delivered to Napster thousands of usernames of people who they believed were pirating their songs. In March of 2001, Napster
Here, ban these people.
Yeah, these are the bad ones. Thankfully, I was not on that list. Um,
Me either.
the thousands of usernames, and in March of 2001, Napster settled both suits after being shut down by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in a separate lawsuit from several major record labels. In 2000, Madonna's single Music was leaked out of the web and Napster prior to its commercial release, causing widespread media coverage. Now, verified Napster use peaked with 26.4 million users worldwide in February of 2001. In that same month, with the court-ordered interim shutdown imminent, Napster went public with a settlement proposal that would have paid record labels $1 billion over the next 5 years, with the money coming through a subscription service.
Wow, they should have gone with that.
Yeah, because, I mean, think about the money that would have generated, plus back then, you know.
Like, right. I'm just, like I said, when we were talking about this before we started recording, I understand why the artists were complaining.
Yeah.
They weren't getting paid for their work. But on the other hand, you also have to understand that the people wanted the ability to buy one fucking song.
Yeah.
It was something that Jen and I discussed several times. If I could pay for just the song I wanted, I would be willing to do that.
You know,
That didn't come around for like, what, 5 or 10 more years before iTunes came a thing?
yeah. The thing that reminds me of is that I remember when 45s was the big thing. You could go out, get 2 songs on one record, small record, and play to your heart's content. But then when they decided to stop making records, you know, and of course, here's the irony of it. Now you can't go buy records. It's like, you know, with video games. All of a sudden, the Atari 2600 is now a retro item to go out and get. Because all of a sudden, everybody wants to, you know, turn it back to 1980. But, you know, it's just crazy that, you know, they were throwing a fit, that all these people all of a sudden had access to all this music. And like I was saying, is that there was stuff that we couldn't find elsewhere. I mean, I remember for the longest time, the time I had a fun time with, was trying to find music in the videos to Information Society. Couldn't find them online. So sometimes you'd look around to other places to try to find this. Well, in 2000, the American American Musical Recording Company, A&M Records, along with several other recording companies, through the RIAA, oh yes, our big evil, sued Napster on grounds of contributory and vicarious copyright infringement under the DMCA, the U.S. Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Now, Napster was faced with the following allegations from the music industry. That the users were directly violating the plaintiff's copyrights.
Kind of.
That Napster was responsible for contributory infringement on the plaintiff's copyrights.
Maybe.
That Napster was responsible for the vicarious infringement of the plaintiff's copyrights.
I don't know about that one.
Here's where I have the field day with it, though. Okay. Again, 30-some cassettes at my mom and dad's place. I would listen on the radio. I would record a song directly off the radio. Do technically I own those songs? No.
Technically.
What is the legal basis of what is in my basement then? It's the grand question, because all these people that had put up songs, I would be willing to throw a bet out there of at least 90% or more bought those CDs, bought those records, bought those cassettes, and then through their own ability got them digitalized.
Right.
Because, you know, they wanted to have access to their music while they were playing on the computer.
And people wanted the ability to pick one song or rearrange them in order.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they didn't like the order that the CD came in, but they wanted to then listen to the CD but in a different order.
One of the great features of The Sims, with disco parties, you could actually program the radio to play songs in the game. It was
right.
beautiful.
I love that.
Oh yeah, let's have some fun, you know. But anyway, what would wind up happening is Napster would lose the case in district court but then appealed to the U.S. Court of Appeals of the Ninth Circuit. Now, although it was clear that Napster could have commercially significant non-infringing issues, the Ninth Circuit upheld the District Court's decision. Immediately after, District Court commanded Napster to keep track of the activity of the network and restrict access to infringing material when
which is pretty much everything.
Location. Yeah, it's like,
I remember hearing that, and I'm like, good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Because everything on there was technically infringement.
See, one way or another. So in 2002, Napster wasn't able to comply with this, thus had to close down its service in July of 2001. Well, in 2002, Napster announced that it had filed for bankruptcy and sold its assets to a third party. In a 2018 Rolling Stone article, Kurt Hammett of Metallica upheld the band's opinion that suing Napster was the right thing to do. Well, now, along with the accusations that Napster was hurting the sales of the record industry, some felt just the opposite, that file trading of Napster stimulated rather than hurt sales. Some evidence may have come in July 2000, where the tracks from English rock band Radiohead's album Kid A found their way onto Napster 3 weeks before the album's release. Unlike Madonna, Dr. Dre, or Metallica, Radiohead had never hit the top 20 in the U.S. Furthermore, Kid A was an album without any singles released and received very little radio airplay. It was an outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, by the time of the album's release, the album was estimated to have been downloaded for free by millions of people worldwide, and in October of 2000, Kid A captured the #1 spot on the Billboard 200 sales chart in its debut week.
See, proof that it wasn't bad for everybody.
Yeah. According to Richard Menta of MP3 Newswire, the effect of Napster in this instance was isolated from other elements that could be credited to driving sales. The album's unexpected success suggested Napster was a good promotional tool for music. Now, since 2000, many musical artists, particularly those not signed to major labels and without access to traditional mass media outlets, such as radio or television, have said that Napster and its successive internet file sharing networks have helped to get their music heard, spread word of mouth, and may have improved their sales in the long term. One such musician to publicly defend Napster was a promotional tool for independent artists was DJ Zelot, who became directly involved in the 2000 A&M Records lawsuit. Chuck D from Public Enemy also came out and publicly supported Napster. Now, Napster's facilitation of the transfer of copyrighted material was objected to by the RIAA, which again filed their lawsuit against the service on December 6, 1999. The legal action, what was intended to shut down the service, brought in a great deal of publicity and an influx of millions of new users, many who were college students. Well, after the failed appeal, an injunction was issued on March 5th, 2001. Here's where the death spiral comes in, ordering Napster to prevent the trading of copyrighted music on its network. Now, Lawrence Lessig claimed, however, that this decision made little sense from the perspective of copyright protection. When Napster told the district court that it had developed the technology to block the transfer of 99.4% of identified infringing material.
Nice.
The district court told counsel for Napster 99.4% was not good enough.
Well then, how picky are they?
That's greed.
That is greed.
Right there. Napster had to push the infringements down to zero, and if 99.4% was not good enough, Lessig concluded that it was a war on file sharing technologies, not a war on copyright infringement.
Right.
Very good point. Well, July 11th, 2001, Napster shut down its entire network to comply with the injunction. Yep. 1 week later, the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals temporarily overturned the order from the week before, allowed Napster to resume operations due to Napster saying it could block all but a tiny fraction of the unauthorized song shopping. On September the 24th, 2001, the case was partially settled. Napster would agree to pay music creators and the copyright owners a $26 million settlement for past unauthorized uses of music, and as an advance against future licensing royalties of $10 million. To pay these fees, Napster's attempt to convert its free service into a subscription system, and thus traffic to Napster was reduced. The prototype solution was tested in 2002, the Napster 3.0 Alpha, using the .NET secure file format for Play Media Systems and audio fingerprinting technology licensed from Relatable. Napster 3.0 was, according to many former Napster employees, ready to deploy, but it had significant trouble obtaining licenses to distribute major label music. On May 17, 2002, Napster announced that its assets would be acquired by the German media firm Bertelsmann for $85 million to transform Napster into an online music subscription service. The two companies have been collaborating since the middle of 2000, and when Bertelsmann became the first major label to drop its copyright lawsuit against Napster, pursuant to the terms of the acquisition agreement on June 3rd, Napster filed for Chapter 11 protection under the United States bankruptcy law. On September the 3rd, 2002, an American bankruptcy judge blocked the sale to Bertelsmann and forced Napster to liquidate its asset. Now, Napster's brand and logo were acquired at a bankruptcy auction by Roixo, which used them to rebrand the press play music service as Napster 2.0. In September of 2008, Napster was purchased by the U.S. electronics retailer Best Buy for $121 million. December 1st, 2011, pursuant to a deal with Best Buy, Napster was merged with Rhapsody, with Best Buy receiving a minority stake, and on July 14, 2016, Rhapsody phased out the Rhapsody brand in favor of Napster, and has since branded its service internationally as Napster, and expanded towards other markets by providing music on demand as a service to other brands like iHeartRadio app and their all-access music subscription service that provides subscribers with on-demand music experience as well as premium radio. On August 25th, 2020, Napster was sold to virtual reality concerts company Melody VR, and May 10th, 2022, Napster was sold to Hivemind and Algorand. Never heard of them. The investor consortium also includes ATC Management, VH Digital, G20 Ventures, Skybridge, RSE Ventures, Arlington Capital, Bournemouth Capital, and others. Now, out there, for those of you who like to read, I see.
No.
There are several books that document the experiences of people working at Napster. One was called All the Rave, The Rise and Fall of Sean Fanning's Napster by Joseph Menn. Sonic Boom, Napster, MP3, and the Pioneers of Music by John Alderman. Appetite for Self-Destruction, The Spectacular Crash of the Record Industry in the Digital Age by Steve Knopfler. And as my wife was just mentioning, in 2003 a film came out, The Italian Job, featuring Napster co-founder Sean Fanning in a cameo as himself. This gave credence to the character's fictional backstory as the original Napster. Now, there also was the movie 2010's The Social Network, which features Napster co-founder Sean Parker, played by Justin Timberlake, as the rise of the popular website Facebook. In 2013, a film called Downloaded is a documentary about the sharing media on the internet and includes the history of Napster. And a film in 2024, just last year, called How Music Got Free, is a documentary based on the nonfiction book How Music Got Free, mentions the file sharing on the internet with mentions of Napster and other applications. The big thing is that, once people have access and they know that there's an ability out there, people will seek.
Right. I mean, look at Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify, in a lot of ways, Spotify is another one, kind of like iTunes, that replaced Napster. It gave people the ability to pick their songs, play them in whatever order they wanted to. They could mix artists, they could mix genres, they could do whatever they wanted to.
Oh yeah, and the other thing is that it also was kind of the grandfather, because other things came along for P2P playing, LimeWire, Nutella, Freenet, Fast Track, and BitTorrent. And so, yeah, once the genie got out of the bottle, people just said, well, since it was so easy to do it this way,
we'll just do it this way.
Yeah, and so they kept, changing platforms. Some companies did suffer because, if you could pay $30 for this program and get it over here for free, I'm going to take it for free.
Right.
Granted, my lawful good side would probably still try to find a sale of the real stuff,
right,
instead of the pirated. But,
right. I don't mind paying for things.
Yeah.
I don't mind paying for my books. I don't mind paying for my music because I want to support the artist. But at the same time, I want to be able to pick, especially when it comes to music, because I'm very, very, very picky when it comes to music.
Well, that, up here, speaking of Dr. Demento, they used to be played only on the tech radio station back in the days. And then all of a sudden, the radio station stopped working. Well, very rarely could you find anybody that was willing to play Dr. Demento stuff. Once in a while, I might luck out when we have a decent CD selection at Target. You might be able to find it, or at the third-hand store, Early Novembers, they would carry the stuff. But yeah, it was one of those cases where finding certain types of genres of music was really hard.
Mm-hmm. Especially in our Midwest area where things take forever to get here.
Yeah. 6 months and a knock on wood sometimes.
Right.
But yeah, this was the beginning of the death spiral for our good friend Napster. But, music stays alive. We still enjoy the music. But this has been the Bearded Historian and his wifey wife. We'll see you guys next week.
Wow. Only 29 minutes.
Oh, lucky. I was longer.
Me too. You were promising me like an hour. I'm disappointed.
I'm very sad.
Oh well.
Oh.